If you're still telling yourself that it's your success that intimidates men and it's your success that's the reason why your dating life sucks, this episode is for you. And listen, as much as I'm here to call you out, I'm also here to tell you that I understand you because a few years ago, I would be exactly where you are now. I would tell myself that I'm just too successful, too pretty, too confident, too whatever for men to think that they have a chance. And this is why they're not committing. This is why they're not consistent. But that couldn't be further from the truth because if strength and intellect and success were such turnoffs, would Michelle and Barack have been married successfully for over 30 years? Would David Beckham keep supporting Victoria after he retired and her business keeps growing and is actually heading towards its best period ever? Another example is Nick Jonas and Priyanka Chopra. She is a global star. She's so achieved. She's older than him, and yet he admires her success and supports her in it. So, yes, while the line successful women intimidate men is super convenient and makes you feel good after another failed talking stage, it is simply not true. And if you want your dating life to finally work out, you need to accept it and do something about it instead. And so let's analyze that. If it's not your success, then what is it that puts men off? What I learned in my years of practice as a dating strategist for high achieving women is that it's not your success that's the problem, but who you needed to become, the skills and energy you needed to cultivate in order to create that success. And so today I'll break down the behaviors that help successful women build up the professional success that they have, but that also happen to ruin their dating experience. We'll talk about the subtle mistakes that you're making that actually take your dating progress backwards and the 3 shifts you want to make instead to get the strong, secure man to pursue you and want to commit to you. If you're new here, my name's Laura Nagel. I'm a dating strategist for high achieving women and the author of the Dream Framework, the first and only dating coaching program with a 6-month results guarantee. I have helped over 100 women find the one within months, and I would love for your story to be next. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with the core problem, which is that the majority of high achieving women these days are functioning in the performance or survival mode. And this means that most of the time you are operating from masculine energy rather than feminine energy, which is our natural state of being. And that makes total sense because it's the masculine energy that allows us to build up success in the Western meaning of the word. In order to climb high up in the corporate ranks, you have to be persistent, consistent, authoritative. You have to be strict. You have to be firm. You have to be sometimes even aggressive in your communication, but definitely very direct. And so your way of operating within the professional context is so different from what you need to be in the context of dating. Masculine energy built up your career, got you the recognition. It allowed you to achieve all of the beautiful things that you wanted that I'm sure you're proud of and you should be. It's also creating obstacles when it comes to mirroring that same success in your dating life. And that's because masculine men are drawn to women who are secure in their feminine. And before you click off this episode, thank you very much. I'm not planning to change who I am. That is not what I mean. Because being in the empowered feminine doesn't mean being shy, being quiet, dimming down your light, or minimizing your achievement. It means you're grounded, you're elegant, you're magnetic, dignified. When you're in your empowered feminine, you don't have to control everything in order to feel safe. You allow others to step in and take care of you. You're not operating from scarcity mindset because you know you are worthy of only receiving the best treatment and don't hesitate to move on from men who don't do that properly. Being in your empowered feminine means feeling safe to be reactive, not proactive. And that is something that my clients who are used to being leaders very often struggle with. Because on one hand, you don't want to have to be the one who sets the pace and have to lead and has to control everything. But at the same time, you don't know how to act differently and how to inspire that in the other person instead of being that yourself. And so, the very first step towards shifting from controlling to trusting will be awareness. The awareness of the fact that your whole life you have been rewarded from acting from your masculine. So, controlling, leading, fixing. To the majority of my clients, trusting, feeling, receiving feels not only foreign but lazy, like something they should be ashamed of. But what they don't know is that these are exactly the traits and behaviors that inspire the divine lover, the strong protector, the inspired leader that they want their man to be. In our first session, one of my clients, a senior exec at Google, told me that she didn't understand why men would not text her again after an amazing first date. And then in the same breath, she would tell me that she had this system for intentional dating where after a day or two after matching, she asked these men out, usually to the same wine bar, so that she can feel the vibe, determine if it's worth her time, if it has potential and it's going anywhere, and if it doesn't, she can move on quickly. And so, how it would go is they match, she asks them out, they meet, she hits them right away with the list of questions, with the list of boxes she wants them to tick, and then she would be surprised that there was no texts after the date. Strange, right? She thought she was doing everything right, dating intentionally, being efficient with her time. The only problem is that she wasn't because, one, if you go on so many dates because you ask them out literally a few hours or days after matching, you have no opportunity to really get to know them. And so you go on many dates with people who are not necessarily qualified. So that gives you a big burnout very quickly from meeting all of these people, getting your hopes up, and that not leading to anything. Second of all, no one likes to feel like they're being interviewed. Think about it from the other perspective. Would you want to feel like you're interviewing for a position of a prospect for dating? Like that's a preliminary stage where it's not even a real date. This is just a little questionnaire and a background check. That's not fun. That also kills all potential for chemistry and magic and sparks to fly because it just feels like a formality. And so, while I completely get where she was coming from, that is not how you want to approach it. Okay, so what can you do instead? Point number one, the most important one, don't go on so many dates, but start filtering better instead. Two, stop showing up in your masculine and create space for the right man to actually step up instead. So next time you match with someone who seems to be good on paper, the conversation is going fairly well, you feel like there might be some potential, do not, and I repeat, do not ask him out. Instead, focus on being interested in the conversation, be interesting to talk to, but give him space and see what happens. That in itself will be a filter because if it's been days, my rule of thumb is a week. If it's been a few days and nothing happens, he doesn't ask you out, it means one of two things. There are two options only. One, he's just not that into you, in which case the best role you'll be able to land with him will be the role of a placeholder until he finds the love of his life and leaves you for her anyway. Or two, he's so helpless. He's seeking someone who's going to direct and lead him and set the pace, that the only dynamic you can get with that guy is if you end up being the mother, if you end up being the one who drives the whole thing, and he's she's the passenger princess. You know the couples where you see them and the guy literally asks the woman for permission on anything, even if he can have another drink? Well, that's the dynamic I'm talking about, where she's the mom and he's the son, he's the baby. These people basically settle because she resents him for having to take care of him all the time, for not feeling like the sexy goddess, but feeling like the mom who always needs to think and plan and manage everything. But he resents her too because, as convenient as it is at the beginning, it doesn't make him feel like a man. And so it's an absolutely toxic dynamic, one that I see very often. But if you don't want to end up in it, don't ask him out. Because not asking a man out is a filter in itself. If he doesn't ask you out, it means nothing good is ever going to come out of it. The next thing you want to do is shift from control to trust, because masculine men need that space to lead, not because they don't think you can or they think that women are inferior. It's more about having this thing that makes them feel seen and appreciated. They need it. And you, as a woman, can absolutely be independent and receptive at the same time. Let me say it again. This is not about changing who you are, it's about expressing yourself strategically. Because you want the guy to step up, you want him to have initiative, you want him to take care of you, and you also want to be a total boss bitch and a badass at work. And you can have both. We can have it all in life. And this is something that's not spoken enough. There's no trade off that's needed. You just need to be strategic about it and smart about it. And so we already established you don't want to be the one to ask the man out. Now, when he does ask you out, don't manage his effort. Don't try to step in and control how that's going to happen. And let me give you an example here, because I know it's easy to say, oh, just create a space for him, but how the hell do I actually do that? So an example could be, let's say you're a vegetarian. You match with a guy on a dating app. He asks you out and he sends you 3 restaurants to choose from, 2 of which are steakhouses, and the third one is something that is also like a meat heavy cuisine. The masculine in you and your initial instinct might be to not just say no to that, but also hit him with the list of alternatives of what you can do instead. Because, and here you have a whole myriad of things you can use to rationalize that behavior, because obviously he's clearly not vegetarian, so he doesn't know the vegetarian scene in your city as well as you do, and it's not a problem for you at all because you know these places already, and so you might as well let him know, and all of these things. But the shift here will be that you actually don't do that. You don't focus on his convenience and taking care of him. You actually lean back and let him take care of you. And so, what you will do in this situation instead, as the new you, the feminine you, is you're going to graciously and gracefully thank him for the offer, explain why neither of these options works, and allow him to come back to you with a list of alternatives. And if he doesn't get the gist and comes back with, okay, so where do you want to go instead? You hit him with a similar answer. You say something like, I'm open to suggestions. Feel free to send me a few options and we can choose together. Notice how that's already a micro example that shows you how willing he is to invest in you. This time, just with a little more time spent on research, but if he is not willing to do that, you already know you're just a convenience for him. And the smallest sign of convenience will be something that turns him off, which shows you very clearly he's not interested in building something long term. And if he does, then one, that's a green light for you in terms of getting to know him better. But also on his side, the fact that he spent some time, he invested in you a little already, will make him this much more willing to give your connection a good shot. The key takeaway here is that soft doesn't mean passive. It means trusting my own discernment enough in order to relax and not feel to control everything at all times. And it feels good. Shift number 3 is stop trying to prove your worth and start testing for the worth of others instead. One of the biggest obstacles that I see in dating for high achieving women is the constant convincing, proving, over explaining, over analyzing, overcompensating, constant proving their value like they're in a sales call. And the reality here is you can't control how quickly and if at all somebody will see you as worthy. For them to understand how hard you worked to get to where you are, how much work you're putting into yourself on the daily, how consistent you are with your personal development work, etc. So, as long as you know you're putting your best foot forward in dating across all areas, conversation, charisma, looks, all of that, I want you to lean back and stop trying to convince men that you're worthy of them pursuing you. Learn to be okay with some men just not being into you. We don't have to be everyone's cup of tea. And I know you like him, but you also liked so many other men before, and yet you managed to move on from them and find someone new. And so let's make that someone new be someone who understands your value from the get go. Because dating doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to feel like constant burnout and work and overthinking and overanalyzing and stressing and constant insecurity and doubt and, this constant like pain in your stomach. It doesn't have to feel like that. It can be actually a fun experience. It can be something that boosts your confidence instead of taking away from it if you're smart and strategic about it. And so, if someone doesn't see your value from the get go, I am no fan of Mel Robbins, but in this case, literally let them. And if this episode got you thinking, okay, I feel like I'm doing some of these things right and some of them I'm doing completely wrong, I'm not sure where to start, take my free dating audit. It will tell you what your biggest problem in dating is right now that's affecting your outcomes and the next 3 steps you need to take in order to fix it. The link will be in the description.